Hello there. I am so glad you joined me. I'm Nancy Reynolds, Stampin' with Nutsy, and here is our card for today. I've used the Rain or Shine Suite, and look at that. Isn't he so cute? I love this little fox. I can't help myself. I'm just trying to find us so I can see comments. I don't know what my streaming software is doing, but it's not showing me comments today. So oh, Stampin' with Nutsy. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn the sound off on my laptop. Okay, there we are. I can see you. I will be able to see comments. All is good. Anyway, I think this is just a dapper little fox, and I think he's adorable. And I've got a lot going on in the card. I just wanted to build a scene with this little guy. On the inside, we've got pretty simple. Oh, well, little piggy. Everybody needs a friend, right? Because our sentiment is rainy days are better with you. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock. It's just half of a sheet of cardstock, either A4 or A2, depending on what market you're in. And I'm going to make it as a hamburger card. I have two pieces of paper, one basic white. Did I say thick Whisper White? It's thick basic white. Oh my goodness. Anyway, here's the basic white and a piece of designer series paper. Both of them are the same size. They're 4 by 5¼ inches or 10 by 14.4 centimeters. This will go on the front. This will go on the inside. And I did something with this because I wanted to add a little more texture. There's a lot going on in the card. It surprised me when I really looked at it. We've got this embossing folder. It's called the Raindrops embossing folder. It's part of the suite. And so I took my designer series paper. Now, keep in mind that raindrops grow in a specific direction. The blobby part, the largest part, is at the bottom of the drip. And so I had to put my paper in upside down, what looked like upside down to me, line it up with the black line, and I just embossed over the raindrop embossed designer series paper, which I thought was pretty cool. So it's got a little more texture, which I like, and this will go on the front. And as long as we are right here, and I've got my Tombow glue, and this side is also very pretty. I've used it for some other things. I have loved this so much that I have gone through most of my embossing paper. So this is just down flat. So let's go ahead and put that on because, as I might have mentioned before, I really, 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 really do better with fewer pieces of paper and little bits and pieces around. Oh, it's not quite straight. I should get that one off. Nice thing about Tombow is you do have a little wiggle room. You can also pick it up and move it if you need to. There, that looks better. One of the other designer series papers, and let me show you these. This sheet that I showed you last night, I am completely out of this. I had to kind of scramble to get a piece for my display because I've been having so much fun with it. So we've used this designer series paper on our front. I have cut the piggy out of this one. I didn't cut the fox out. I stamped and colored him. But this is the bottom. I found that I had bottoms and I had tops left. So I decided that it would really look silly to have him walking and not have something beneath his feet. So I took and I just freehand cut the top shape. A little hill, a little mound, so he could have a place to walk. And we'll put that on. See how wonderful it is to get little bits and pieces out of the way? I have my envelope. We're going to get it out of the way also. I have a piece of the paper that I'm using, the designer series paper, making sure my raindrops are going in the correct direction. It is very easy to get that wrong, by the way. up on the front. I'm just going to put this down, just a little strip at the bottom, because I believe that we have a pretty card, we have a pretty inside, we need to have a pretty envelope. The one thing I do try to do is I use my silicone mat and I really get very generous with the glue on the flap, because I don't want it to come loose and mess up any of the postal machines here in the United States. We don't want to make the post office mad at us. I put this on. And basically, I tend to cut my designer series paper. Well, now that is upside down. It's just going to have to be that way. I wasn't paying attention, I was thinking. Looks like my silicone mat needs to be cleaned. So I will clean off this envelope before I seal it and send it. But for right now, we're going to call it good. Trimmed and good. So our envelope's ready. I'll set that under here. And we're going to build our scene. I did a lot of die cutting and a little fussy cutting. So here are my strips for the inside, for my sentiment. And this is just a scrap. I have a bag of scraps with little bits and pieces like this, and I thought it was perfect. I stamped on basic white my little fox. I fussy cut the piggy. I stamped again on basic white three times the flower stamp, and we're going to color one of those in together, and we'll color the fox. I used our in color glimmer paper, Parakeet Party. I have 4 grasses. Four little grasses. I have 2 butterflies out of the glimmer paper, the Sweet Sorbet. Isn't that pretty? And then out of a scrap of the designer series paper with the raindrops that I'm using, I cut 2 mud puddles because he's playing in the rain. So there we are. There are our bits and pieces. So let's get to coloring. You do need to have a piece of paper. Oh, hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. These are so cute. I can't put them away. Oh, Rose, you've got no sound? Does everyone else have sound? Hi, Shirley Merker. Okay, let's get started. I know I've got sound because I turned it off, had to turn it off on my laptop. Let's start with the umbrella. Oh, I'm going to get that out of the way. And I like to start using my blends. There's 2 tips, you know. There's the larger brush tip with the larger line and the smaller pen tip with the thinner line. And I'm going to go ahead and start on the umbrella with the light Sweet Sorbet. And I'm just going to color him in. Just lay down some alcohol marker so that I've got a good base to start shading. And I will shade just a little bit on this one. Now you see what I mean by me not doing well when there's lots of little pieces and bits about. Because they're all over my desk and I feel like I'm over to the side too far. So I hope you can see. I'm going to take the pencil tip, the pen tip, the thin tip, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark Sweet Sorbet along these lines for shading. And we have some extra shading over here. It's just kind of trying to figure out where there might be shadows. Then I'm going over with my brush tip in the light and blend those in. There we go. His hat is almost done. We'll let it dry for just a minute, and then we're going to put Wink of Stella on it. I used the lightest, well, the number 800 of our Stampin' Natural Blends, the skin tones. And I'm going to go over his face with this one and the tip of his tail. They come in sets of 2. And I truly have trouble remembering which one is in which set. I think this is the part of the medium light. So I'm going to put down some of our lightest color. Then on his face, I'm going to pop in with the second lightest color, our soft suede light. And I'm just going to click around here and just kind of color him in. Because basically it's his muzzle that's light. But I don't want a harsh line there. There he is. And then let's do the dark soft suede. And I'm using the pen tip because I'm just going to do his little cheek feathers there and maybe right around here. And his hat, there would be a little shadow under his hat. Going back over with my light soft suede and blend those in a little bit. So basically the color you're using the most is the lightest, and then the second lightest, and the darkest you use the least of. But the lightest is going to have the most. So I'm going to go over his face one more time and just blend those in. Blend in my little lines. And we're done with this color. His ears, of course, will be soft suede. And I grabbed the dark one, so they're just going to be dark. He's got very tippy ears. And his tail, which is just as cute as can be. Let's get... I don't have foxes here. Do you have foxes where you're at? I've got coyotes. There are places with cougars. I don't know that anybody's seen a wolf. We've got some bears. Black bears wander the neighborhood on occasion. Oh, Shirley, thanks. You've got sound and audio. And both Shirleys. Going in with the dark, and I'm just going to highlight his little tail. Where he meets it, there would be a shadow there. So let's put some texture on there, some dark. And then I'll go over him again. Just working at blending in those colors. And even though I'm using light, every time I go over it, it gets just a little bit darker. So I might like to have some spots that are lighter. So I'm not going to go over the whole tail. So I've got the light in my hand. I think I'm going to do his little legs and feet. Use a light touch because that's one of the things that you can count on with alcohol markers. They will bleed out a little bit. So be careful around your edges. We do have a remover, which really doesn't, and I would grab it, but I'm packing for a retreat and I think I've already packed mine, which was obviously not a good choice. So I'll have to be more careful. We'll just put his little more color on him, a little light. Oh, and his hands. Sorry, pause. He is, after all, a fox. Okay, we're done with this. That leaves us with Daffodil Delight. He looked like a happy sort of fellow, so I'm just going to give him a hat in the light Daffodil Delight. A few shadows, like under the ear. We would see a shadow there. Going back over it with the light to blend in those shadows. And then we'll start on his coat. And then I will color his hat with Wink of Stella because it just looks so cute. He deserves to have some shine. There's where we should need a little shading there. Maybe a little shading under his arm. Right in there. And work that in with the lightest yellow. There we are. Our fox is colored. Let's highlight him. A little Wink of Stella. I was just going to do a couple little dots, stripes of Wink of Stella, and got carried away and decided I liked it all shiny and sparkly. And who could resist putting sparkles on the buttons? Oh, Cindy, thank you. Oh, hi, Deborah. You're in Northern Illinois. You have lots of farmland and forest preserves around you. That is cool. And you've got foxes, too. I wish we had foxes. I think they're cute. Okay, he's done. Two of my flowers are colored. This was the easiest coloring. I did no shading. I didn't worry about it. Oh. I just took my dark parakeet party and colored, just swiped for the leaves. Oh, didn't do the leaves on that one. And then I took my dark daffodil. I'm going to take my dark daffodil delight. I don't know which one I used on the other flowers. And just color in those petals quickly. While I enjoy the shading, sometimes it's just nice to color quickly. And we don't have a Mango Melody blends. So I grabbed my Stampin' Write marker and colored the centers of the flowers. And now we are ready to put the front of our card together. Let's start with the flowers over here. Two of them are almost sort of flat. All I did, I left the tops open because I'm going to stuff some. So there's one. And I want to put a little Tombow ink on the bottom of my Parakeet Party grass and kind of tuck it under. And then I think I will do, you notice that the grass goes different directions. I think that is pretty cool. So I'm going to take this one and put it here. And put another of our flowers kind of over it. So we've got some depth and some different levels of flowers. Let's see. I think we could use this right under here. And I'm going to put this one here because our third flower is going up on dimensionals. Over the top. Probably could have used one-dimensional instead of two. Oh, my garbage can moved. Sorry about that. And just put him over the top so that we've got a lot of depth over here. Our little fox is also going on dimensionals, which makes a great deal of sense to me. Honestly, when I think of him, I think of calling him Mr. Dapper Fox. He's quite the little dandy, but so sweet and friendly. We'll just set him over here. Maybe he's going to go smell the flowers. That's possible. I'm taking the little one. The butterflies are the same. They go in two different directions. There's two different stamps. So I'm going to put the one that's going to face the middle from the right side of the card up here. And the one that's facing the middle from the left side of the card, I'm just going to glue flat. This is where being adept at using tweezers would be a good thing. All right, here we are. We've got the front almost done. We've got a couple of, we still haven't stamped our sentiment yet. So I am going to just move right along, put on my 3 basic jewels. And I think that using odd numbers is the Fibonacci principle. That was kind of discovered a mathematical principle that's what's pleasing to the eye. And if they're prime numbers, I think it's even better. Just thought. I would love to spell Fibonacci for you, but I can't. I'm just amazed I can say it. Here we go. I have truly enjoyed this. See those side drop raindrops? Don't they look like mud puddles? Okay, I decided he needed 2. Remember as a kid how much fun it was to just see a mud puddle and run and jump in it? I used to love that. I don't do that so much anymore. Our front of the card is basically done. We need to do a little stamping, and I just used my Memento black ink and my stamp, Rainy Days Are Better With You. And I got that well inked up. And we're not using a punch or anything for the end. We are just going to grab our scissors and make a slant cut. That's all there was to it. And then I raised that on dimensionals. Thank you, Joy. Oh, Joy, you've got raccoons? We also have raccoons. I had rescued a cat that was hanging out on the back porch. And so in the winter, it was just so cold. And I managed to get him in. And he was mostly domesticated. Picking him up was never a pleasure. But every summer, he wanted to go outside and be on the porch. And he shared his food with the raccoons. They had a lovely relationship. I talked to him many times about his choice of friendships, but it seemed to all work out perfectly. It was a little weird. Raccoons make me nervous when you've got cats around. Okay, we've got a little raindrops on the top, a little more of that lovely grass on the bottom, and I'm just using up strips. Truly. I looked at them and thought, oh, wouldn't that make a nice bottom? If they hang over, you just trim them off. I think I trimmed mine first. And because he's facing, I want him to face the middle, so we'll just put a little glue on him, put him down. And the one thing I don't care for the glue for, I think that it kind of shows through on the basic white. So I use my Stampin' Seal for that. We'll put this inside, and our card is now complete. There we are. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to talk to your demonstrator. I know that I'm not sure the whole suite is still available, but I know there are bits and pieces of it that are available. So if you're interested, get with your demonstrator who invited you. And thank you so much for joining me and for commenting and playing along. And I will say goodbye and happy crafting till I see you again.